So I'm just going to go through a few of the details of the Springthing applet. So P pauses and unpauses. Okay, this is a default mesh that comes up. Clear clears a mesh, clears the screen, deletes the elements. OM ordered mesh space 20 elements per side space 6 connections per element. Okay. It's OM is the command. And then let's see, just move this guy over a bit, and we'll do OM2 space 25 elements per side, 7 connections per element. Alright. That's OM2. It's kind of an offset mesh, like a crystalline structure. Alright. Scale, to scale, zoom in and out, SC space 0.5, scales it by 0.5. You can see we've got our two meshes kind of glommed together here. This is the first one we made right here, and it's connected down to the second one we made down here. So I just didn't clear the mesh, and I made two meshes and they stuck together. So to change the number of connections per element, CN space, we'll try 3. Okay, now the mesh is very fluid-like. There's hardly any connections between the elements, and so there's not much to hold the structure into any one form. It's not like a fluid or a fabric. Okay. So I'm going to clear that because it's just lost its form basically. Then there's a random measure RM space number of elements 1000 space number of connections per element 10, and here's a random mesh, scale 0.5, zoom out. Alright, now let's see, let's turn on the force visualization. The force vector on each particle is visible. These are yellow vectors, and then you can constrain the mesh randomly with CM space 10 space 4 dash space 2. It's just to add random constraints. So that's CM constrain mesh. Members in X and Y, members in X only, and members in Y only. That just removes degrees of freedom from the system, and then your mesh can just be pinned essentially in place. To remove all those constraints, just type in free, or just click on each of the nodes and it'll free them one at a time. So let's see what else. Yeah, more visualization. So I'm gonna make this stiffer. K 10,000. Okay, so K is stiffness, spring stiffness. You can see it's kind of unstable because there's not enough mass to stabilize that much stiffness for the given time step. So M is mass, and I'm going to bump it up to 10. I think the default is 1. So now it's a stiffer, slower system, which means more force. So the force vectors are longer. So now I'm going to turn off the connections with C, so we can just see the force flow. And you can just see the force vectors flowing through the structure. I'm going to make a denser mesh. So RM 4000 and 6 connections per element. And it's just going to calculate and calculate and calculate. Make a big fat mesh so we can see the force vectors flow through it really well. So that's 4000 elements with 6 connections per element. And it's just going to glom it onto the current mesh too. So while we're waiting for that, I'll just go through a little bit of the theory. It's basically, okay, it's done. It's just a spring mass system, Springthing. So I'm going to scale this down so we can see the whole thing. Scale 0.5 again. Alright, once more. So you can see our original mesh inside of our new mesh. Let's set the mask to 10 again. Should calm that down. Alright. And then I'm going to run a wave through this guy by just slowly tugging and releasing. You can see how the wave travels through the mesh. I'm going to zoom in again. Scale 3. Okay. I'm going to turn the connections back on. Let's see. I'm on positive P. So, some of the stuff you can do. P unpause. So when you pause it, you can still perturb the mesh. So P for pause, relax, removes the forcing of the velocity, all the inertia from the mesh. So it just sets it back to 0 essentially. And then P for unpause. And yeah, I'm gonna pause it again, and then I'm gonna just move a couple elements around. You can't really see the unmoved ones, but then I'll unpause it. You can see that they equilibrate and force the rest of the system. Turn off the force vectors with F. Okay, well that's quick and dirty. There's a few more videos on here about Springthing, but I'll try to post more as I add functionality. So enjoy.